that. You never know.
You never know.
You're right. So just raise her. When you get out the car, you forgot where you left your car, don't you? I do.
Anybody else? We're good?
That's not
Kitchen? Okay, we're good. Alrighty, so since we're looking primarily for independent living, that actually freed up a little bit of time, so that's awesome. So on this first sheet, it says live your best life for senior living. It just generally goes over the different types of facilities and what the different names of them are. So a lot of people associate senior living with a nursing home, which is not the case. And so this kind of just goes over that part. All right. So independent living, it's a full apartment, it's 55 and older. Meals are included in some independent living communities. You're more than likely responsible for all utilities. It might be something general like cable or internet as a gimmick that you might be able to, that might be included. But other than that, you're generally responsible for your own utilities. It is private pay. No assessment is needed, unlike any of the other communities where they have to assess you. So definitely skilled nursing and assisted living communities. If you need additional help while you are at home, you can always get home help, which is several vendors out there. You can also get private duty caregivers, okay? The lowest one that I know of is about $900 a month, and that is without being a subsidized low-income community. All righty? So, ways to pay.
No, we got some room. Hi, it's a hand up. Here you go.
Thank you. I'm next door.
So certain areas
Thank you.
for low income, they're not in pockets, they're not in pods. And then she's also a licensed real estate agent and senior relocation specialist. So if you guys are looking for something specific in a specific area with a specific price point, I would definitely reach out to her as well. So senior living, for the independent living, the average cost, like I said, if you're not looking for subsidized housing, you can get really, really luxurious community for about $1,300. It's not as expensive as one would think. The trend now is for there to be 2 meals included. Some do have 3. And then the lowest one that I know of, which is a older building, about 500 units, that's $1,000. And they always have 9 out of 10 times, every independent living community has a home health on site. So if you feel like you need additional services, you can always just tell one of the resident coordinators there, and they'll be more than happy to give you private duty and give you home health. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so your qualifications though, to stay in independent living is you have to be independent. So a lot of times you'll see that people will have walkers, they'll have wheelchairs. The problem is there's a lot of stairs in independent living. If you don't have a pendant to call, I don't know, Life Alert, whoever that calls, unlike an assisted living community, if something happens to you or you're in the restroom and you can't push the button, or you do push the button for someone to come, you don't get that in independent living. So you have to be able to dial a cell phone if you fall. You have to be able to get up. You actually have to just have that threshold in which you either have a caregiver that's coming in to take care of you 24/7. Other than that, more than likely they're going to ask you to find assisted living placement. Are we clear on that? Mm-hmm. All right. So with that being said, I'm assuming the majority of you guys retired. Yes. Living your best life? Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so we're going to go on ahead and dive into how to pay for it, okay? So we already know your income. So let's say you have Social Security, you have other sources of income that are coming in, that's great. Savings, that's awesome. What happens to your home? Are you going to sell your home? What do you do with that lump sum of money, so to speak? And mind you, aging, let's say you're retiring at 65, you still got 25 more years, God willing, that you should be planning for in order for you to live off of this money and your monthly income that you have. So very briefly, I'm going to bring up Deon Hobbs from Merrill Lynch. He's going to tell you about multiple options that you guys will have. So let's just keep the scenario in mind, which is typical. you have, your savings, you decided to sell your home, and you have, like social security or whatever your monthly income would be, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and pass this out at this time.
Hello.
Good afternoon. My name is Dion House. I'm in Maryland. I've been with the firm 9 months, but I'm not new to the business. I'm coming from Chase for 10 years. Before that, I was in real estate, like Ms. Cross was there. And before that, I was at American Jail when they were still called American Jail.
Okay, I'm gonna call you when I get out of here.
Ms. Crossley gave me the opportunity to come over to John Hopkins. I currently care for my mother, me and my brother do that. She's 72 years old. She hasn't worked for 4 years. She's been on disability during that time. She had Crohn's disease before it was called Crohn's disease. So when we're looking at our retirees and in retirement, you get a lot of information thrown at you and it all sounds good. Right? Does anybody agree with me on that? Yeah. Okay, good. So how do you know what's what? How do you know if it's actually gonna benefit you or is it actually gonna benefit the salesman who's trying to sell it to you? Right? So let me give y'all a website that I want y'all to make sure y'all write down. I wish I had an 800 number, but when you sit down with someone like me, you wanna look at broker check. Broker, B-R-O-K-E-R, check, CHECK.org. So anybody in the business is on that website. We have licenses.
This is
that
how to pay for long-term care and
because they're
assisted
public,
living.
they're to protect us.
You don't need it yet? You might.
And you want to make sure who you're dealing with is actually who you're talking to. They say they've been in the business 10 years, find out. If they say they've been in the business and doing well for the last 10 years, you can find out. They tell you all the background.
Read that website again.
Broker check, B-R-O-K-E-R. Check, C-H-A.
Come on now. Come on, girl.
My grandma's a 42-year veteran. I'm gonna get check.org. Okay? So when we're looking at retirement, right, there's a couple things that you can use to try to pay for retirement, right? So you have a pension, you might have an annuity, right? You might have insurance, whether it's life insurance, whole life, term, universal, long-term care. You have money sitting in the savings account because you don't trust somebody like me to put your money in your stock market because you're scared, because you work too hard to get it, you're not gonna lose it, right? So those are all valid opportunities to put yourself in a position to take care of yourself, right? I included as a part of my handouts, it immediately talks about what is an annuity. Who has an annuity here? Okay. Do you know what kind of annuity it is? Come talk to somebody. Be educated on what you have. It's yours. An annuity, you marry it. That's a product you marry. You don't divorce that. Okay? So when you decide to get an annuity, you better want to have that annuity. An annuity is only good for 4 reasons. Not 5, not 6, only 4. If it's one of the 4 reasons you bought a variable annuity, it's a good reason. You only need 1 reason to buy an annuity. If it's not one of those 4 reasons, it's the worst decision of your life. Okay? You need lifetime income. Perfect. You want to benefit someone when you die because you can't get life insurance because you have an illness or it's just too much, it's just too expensive to pay for the premiums. Perfect. Asset protection. You don't want nobody to sue you and take your money. I call it the O.J. Simpson rule. Okay, we still talking about O.J. Simpson because he's still worth a lot of money because his advisor told him to put all his money in an annuity. They can't take it. They took his house and everything else, but they can't take the annuities, right? 4th reason, tax shelter. You make so much money that you don't want to keep paying Uncle Sam, you can put your money in that annuity. Excellent for those 4 reasons. If you don't need it for one of those 4 reasons, do not buy it. definitely would encourage y'all to understand that more than anything.
So time out. So for the sake of time, because I know you,
Yeah.
so let's say that we're now retired, we're ready to retire, right? We're ready to downsize from the home, and we'll talk about that, next. But, so, we have that, we have our investments, we have our monthly income, however much that's gonna be. Tell me what the plan should be to be able to live off that income for 25 years.
Step one, you gotta look at what you got. You can't go on making changes if you don't know where you are in the thing. So, the last page, it asks a couple questions. As a part of Erica's or Ms. Crossley's handout, she has a schedule or a checklist of itemizing our bills. These are important. If you don't know or want to do it, sit down with someone to help you do it, because it's important. There's no reason to make changes if we don't know where you're currently at. The first thing your doctor does is not come in and just give you Advil when you say something's wrong. He does checks and balances. He hooks you up to machines to see exactly what your blood pressure is and all those things. We do the exact same thing. That's important. That's step one. Step two, we figure out what's what. Is it taxable? Is it not taxable? Does it make sense to take money out of something that's not taxable when you have monies that are already sitting in something that is taxable? It's a discussion. Everything should be a discussion. Wherever you bank, I would advise you to sit down with the individual, because if you're at Chase Bank, where I came from, there's an advisor in that branch. If you're at Wells Fargo, same thing. Most of the credit unions, same thing. Instead of walking past them, this is the opportunity to sit down with them and talk to them. You don't have to buy from them. You don't even have to like them. But you should listen to exactly what they have to say, take that information, and then take it over to somebody else and hear what they have to say. You don't tell them what you just heard from this guy at Wells Fargo. You're just checking to see what's true, what's fact, what's syncing up right? So it doesn't have to be exactly correct, because people get the opportunity to have discretion over how to invest your money, right? Just like some people like Mercedes and some people like BMW. That's a preference. But what is important is making sure that we aren't reaching out to someone in our family who we deem as smart, but not necessarily a financial planner, because what they might be doing is put you in undue risk when you don't necessarily need to have that kind of risk. Another big
Wait,
thing.
time out. So let's table that one for a second, because we have two other presenters.
Okay.
And hold any questions that you have, because you'll have the opportunity to ask questions to him in a moment, okay? Next, I want to bring up Jennifer Bargoff. She will talk about wills and trusts. And in our first session, we talked about the discounted resource that you would be able to have to get your affairs in order, which is very important. So we're talking about all your assets, right? So earlier we talked about long-term care. What if you wanted to go into a Medicaid building, right? You have to do a spend down. So you can't have any more than $2,000 in your bank account. You can't have any savings. They're gonna take your house.
Yeah.
You can't leave it to anybody. So this is why this is very important, because now you have all this money, you're retired, right? You took it, you got your insurances, you have everything. What are you gonna do with it? How are you gonna protect it? Jennifer?
Hi, ladies. And gentlemen, if any gentlemen in here.
There's a few.
My name is Jennifer Marthal, and I am, by profession, an estate planning paralegal. And basically, what I do is I assist people, I work with attorneys, of course, and I work with people who want to establish a living trust. In a nutshell, basically, there are several types of trusts, and but the one that most people would establish would be a revocable living trust. And what that does, it protects your assets from probate. Many people see several people in the financial services business. They may see a realtor, they may see a CPA, they may see a broker, but very often they do not see people like myself because they think that, well, they don't have enough assets, and that's not really true. The average age of our clientele is 55 plus, but I established a trust long before I was 55 because I had kids under the age of 18. What we will do is we will establish a living trust for you if you own a home, if you have a business, I have some cards out, so I'm talking about, I'm trying to, for the sake of time. if you own a home, you have children under the age of 18 or over the age of 18 but unmarried, many parents don't realize that the unmarried kids over 18, they have no say when it comes to if they're hospitalized. They cannot tell the doctors anything unless they have these legal documents in place. So if any of you have unmarried children over the age of 18, you will probably need to have a certain type of document. Now, the living trust comes with 10 essential documents. You will have a will, a form of a will. You will also have powers of attorney for medical, as well as finance. Now, I am also, well, I'm formally securities licensed, but since our clientele is over 55, I try to get people out of the market. I understand the movement and the volatility of the markets. And I'm also insurance licensed, not to take away from Dion. Please see him. Please see him. But to establish a trust, when you do that, you want,
I have one right here. This,
a marker.
A marker, no.
Really quickly,
oh, we can do that.
really quickly, what you're doing when you establish a trust is you're taking your assets, which is, say for example, if you own a home, you have a deed, it's in your individual name. The trust now, you will retitle it to, say, Martha Young's Revocable Living Trust. And all you do is change the title of the deed to the trust. Now, if you have a mortgage, you may have to contact the mortgage company, your financer, to ask them if you can do a living trust and transfer title. Most banks will allow you to do that. I had to do that because I was young at the time, have a home, so I had to get permission from my bank to retitle it to the trust. Another thing is, if you have, say, bank accounts, you retitle the instead of Martha Young, it will be the Martha Young Revocable Trust. It doesn't change anything. You still have control over the trust. The difference with the trust and the will is that at death, a will can be contested. People come out of the woodworks, and when you think you want your assets distributed the way you want it to through a will, it does not happen.
Right.
But a trust, it is much harder to penetrate a trust. So in a nutshell, and by the way, the average attorney in Houston will charge somewhere between $3,000 to $5,000 for a trust. Whereas the attorney that I work with, we charge $600 for the trust. If you own a home and you want to retitle that, this is an additional $200. So, and my fee to execute the trust is about $300. So in a nutshell, you can have everything done for just around $1,100 as opposed to $3,000 or $5,000. Another thing is a lot of attorneys, on a final note, a lot of attorneys will tell you, oh, well, I want you to establish a trust. The first thing they'll tell you is, what do you own a home? What do you have? You don't need a trust. Why they tell you this, and I hope there's no attorneys in here, but a lot of them I have contacted, they won't do a trust for you. Why? Because it's easier to probate the will, because the will brings it's a cash cow for an attorney. Whereas a trust, you will invest more upfront, but in the end, your assets are distributed the way you wanted it to. So you spend less in the front end as opposed to the back end, when you're gone and nobody knows, and you don't know where your assets went. Sometimes people have to sell their homes just to pay the attorney fees. Your kids are left with homeless.
They're gonna be in senior living, living their best life, so that's not gonna happen.
So thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I have one more really quickly.
I have some cards here you can have after.
So, and this is the information that she was just talking about right now. The better costs for the wills and the power of attorney. Okay. And then introducing Vanda Crossley. She works with eXp Realty as well as a perfect fit. And she very quickly will tell you your options as far as getting rid of your home and being able to pay for senior living.
So if you have a home and you don't want to get rock bottom dollars for it because maybe it needs some deferred maintenance issues and things like that, I work with a company where as long as you plan on selling your home within the next year, they will go in and rehab the house for what's on the market, what people like on the market right now. So, hardwood floors are in, open floor plan, people want the granite countertops, and if your home doesn't have that and you try to sell it, they're gonna give you, you might think your home is worth $150,000, they're gonna offer you $75,000, because they're gonna have to go in and do all those upgrades to your stuff. Well, you can do all those upgrades yourself, and then you pay for this at closing. So there's no upfront money that comes out of your pocket. So So you agree to sell your home, and then at closing, they give you an estimate, be $30,000 to do all of that. So then instead of you getting full $150,000 for it, they'll deduct the $30,000 at that time. So that's an option that's out there that I think will be great for a lot of homeowners out there. So as she mentioned, I work with the Perfect Pro, have my own real estate business as well. So if you have any real related questions, you can contact Erica, or you can contact me. We have a booth out there that has my information on it.
Okay, thank you. And so one other thing that I failed to mention earlier, any veterans?
Yes.
Anybody was married or is married to a veteran? Was? Oh, that's awesome. So for assisted living, you guys are entitled to what's called aid in attendance. So it's in essence free money given to veterans and or their spouses. So it's up to $2,000 in additional funding per month. And if you're single or widowed, I think it's about $1,200 to $1,300 as well. Okay, and that they mail the check directly to you. They don't give it to the facility. So this is just supplemental income, but you have to be in a community that is is licensed as an assisted living community. Make sense? Good information to know for you seven. You pick it here. All right, questions. I know you guys had a lot. It's a lot of information, I know, I'm sorry, but they gave us good.
You mentioned ways of paying for assistance, you mentioned insurance, you mentioned term insurance. I have never seen a term insurance, which is what I have ever paid you back anything until you die. So how is it an asset?
It's not a term.
Well, you said term.
Whole life.
Oh, I understand whole life, but you mentioned term as well.
Whole life for a university.
You said term, that's why I thought that.
He did say term. I heard that too.
Next question. Yes, ma'am.
With the realtor and the price of your home, why is it that the attorney, the appraisal district give you an estimate of what your house is worth if you don't have those new features in it? And it's above and beyond.
And it's above